David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another ink review. I said that I'd be getting to more ink reviews this year, and I'm trying to hold myself to that promise. What I have for you today is an ink from a brand which is fairly new. It was launched just this past year. The brand is 3 Oysters, and the ink I'll be taking a look at today is Marine Green. The good folks at 3 Oysters were kind enough to send me a number of colors in their current lineup, and once we get over to the writing sample, I'll show you some of the swatches of what they sent. 3 Oysters is a company based out of South Korea and run by a gentleman by the name of Peter Yoon. Back in the year 2000, Peter's company started off as a fountain pen retailer. And over time, they've morphed from being a retailer to more of a wholesaler and distributor. They are the Korean distributors for such brands as Sailor and Kaweco and Monteverde and Conklin and many others. They were the distributors for Delta and Omos as well. In 2018, the company began producing their own line of inks. The 3 Oysters name is derived from a couple of things. First of all, oyster comes from the phrase, "the world is your oyster," which is a symbol of success. And 3 refers to the 3 things that are most important to this hobby, which are pen, paper, and ink. So, in order to take a closer look at this particular ink, please join me over here at camera 2. So I'm just going to lay out a bunch of swatches here so you can kind of get a good idea of some of the different colors that 3 Oysters has. That I like that blue a lot. This is a mustard, and a lot of their colors are based on representative of Seoul, South Korea, or items in nature. Like this is a seal brown or black moss. This giwa here is representative of the roof of a traditional Korean home. And this dangcheong is like the national color of South Korea as well. I like this min as well. So you can see that there is a wide variety of colors that they have. And this is what the Marine Green looks like. In comparison with some other colors, here it is with Robert Oster River of Fire. Here it is with Kujaku. This is a nice kind of blue-green. The River of Fire is a little more green-green, but the Kujaku is a nice blue-green. The Sailor Yamadori. And then something like, this is another 3 Oysters ink, the Namsan, but this is more of just a darker green. Here is the Ackerman Blaugrün, as well as something that's more of a traditional green, which is the Mont Blanc Irish Green. This is what the bottle looks like. That they call this their tilt bottle. You can see here that there's a little wedge missing from the side. This is so that you can tilt the bottle when inking up your pen so that you have a little access to a little bit more ink. I will say that I wish this wedge was just a little bit larger. While the bottle will balance on that edge, it's not the sturdiest. You can see it wobbling just a little bit. It would make me a little bit nervous inking up a pen with this tilted like that. This cap does have an octagonal shape, which is meant to symbolize the traditional Korean pavilions. They also have a few inks that come in these smaller 18 milliliter bottles as opposed to the 38 milliliter bottles here. And that this one is called Eum, E-U-M, which is a real nice scarlet, and it actually represents sound. The 3 Oyster inks are reasonably priced. A 38 milliliter bottle like this one retails for about $16, and the smaller bottle sells for about $10. So that's not too bad. This is what the ink looks like on some 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. This is more of kind of swashing around some color. It has some really nice sheen in here, a nice kind of bluish red sheen to it. And this is kind of more of a traditional swab. Now, I did lay a lot of ink on here, so there is a tiny bit of bleed, but not much considering the amount of ink that I put on there. So it handles it pretty well, and I think that that's a nice blue-green color. And here is what it looks like on some Rhodia 80-gram paper. So we have 3 oysters, marine green, for this top as well as for these passes. I use this 2.4 millimeter Pilot Parallel pen. These are really nice. They come in a wide variety of sizes, and it can get you some nice calligraphy out of it. I feel that the ghosting and bleed is very low, even on this particular paper. You can see here that there's virtually no bleed through and very, very, very little ghosting as well. I do think that this ink has a nice high shade to it, and the sheen, I would say, is kind of medium high. It's not medium, it's not high, it's kind of right there in the middle. So, in regard to some pens, I have a few here, and each of these are pens that I will be reviewing here in the somewhat near future. First of all, we have a pen from the Heinz pen company, and this is called the Bifrost. Heinz is a custom pen manufacturer, and like I said, this one is very colorful and called the Bifrost. So this is the Heinz Bifrost. And this is a fine steel nib. Then for the next pen, we have another pen that's brand new. Maybe the pen isn't brand new, but it's a new brand to me and something that's just starting to be introduced more to the United States. And this is the pen from Magna Carta, and this pen is called the Falmouth. It's a metal pen, and you can see here that it has all these grooves in here, so it has an interesting tactile feel to it. So this is the Magna Carta Falmouth. And then finally, we have another new pen from Montegrappa, and this is the Montegrappa Elmo. So we have here the Elmo, and this one is a broad nib, and the Falmouth is a medium nib. That if you've seen any of my ink reviews previously, that you know that I like to tie in a movie in with the ink that I'm reviewing. And since this ink is from South Korea, I thought it would be nice to talk about one of my favorite South Korean films. Korea has produced some fantastic films, and the one that I wanted to discuss today is a movie from 2006 called The Host. It's directed by Boon Joon-ho, who has gone on to direct some other very good films. Snowpiercer is one of my favorites of his. If you haven't seen that one, it's well worth the watch. The movie actually starts with an American doctor telling his Korean subordinate to pour down the drain a bunch of toxic chemicals. The man warns his boss that this drain leads directly into the Han River, and the boss says to do it anyways. Well, years later, the doctor is actually going to retire to a farm and meet his sad demise during the zombie apocalypse, but that's another story. In regard to some quotes from The Host, first of all, we have the Heinz pen. The Host, in its essence, is just a good old-fashioned monster movie. Most of all of Ho's films are about monsters. Some are more literal than others. With most monster movies, they kind of tease the monster for what it seems like half the film. You see bits and pieces in the dark or something along those lines. You might not ever really get a good look at the thing. That is not the case with The Host. 10 minutes into the film, you see the monster in all of its glory in the middle of the day in bright sunlight. Okay, the next quote I have, or actually the next thing about the film is, believe it or not, the director Ho has said that the monster is modeled after Steve Buscemi's quirky character from the Coen brothers film Fargo. So do you see the resemblance? And then finally, with the Monte Grappa, the monster is scary and unpredictable, and you never quite know when it may pop up. So the bottom line is, The Host is a very fun movie. Okay, back in regard to the ink, I do find this ink to have a medium flow to it. In regard to drying time, with a fine and with a medium, it was pretty much dry somewhere between 15 and 30 seconds. That I'd say here that the marine green has some decent shading and just a little bit of sheen to it. And that I also feel that this color pairs nicely with a number of different pens. With some greens that I have, I feel that it's kind of limited with the pens that it matches up well with. But I think that this marine green, this blue green here, matches up with a lot of different types of pens or colors of pens. And finally, I am really looking forward to seeing what Three Oysters will come out with next. Okay, in regard to a water test, let's go ahead and put a little water on here. And while that is sitting, let's take a look at some chromatography. What kind of surprised me about this chromatography was, since this is, in essence, a green, that I thought it was going to divide out more in more yellow and blue. And that, as you see here, that it, for the most part, is the blue and the green and a little bit of gray. And then I actually did two chromatography tests, and they actually both turned out fairly similar. But you can see here that there's kind of the blue, and then the gray, and a little bit kind of a green gray in the blue, and then there's the green. But there's really not necessarily a predominant yellow like I thought there might be. Okay, let's take a look at this water test. Now, this ink doesn't claim to be waterproof, and that while it didn't necessarily dissolve completely, that I would not claim that to be waterproof at all. But overall, I do find this to be a very nice ink. So that is Three Oysters Marine Green. Like I said, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what Three Oysters come out with in the near future. That I kind of like inks with themes, and a lot of their inks have themes to them in regard to the culture and the landscape and things that have to do with South Korea. So I think that that's kind of neat when things get tied in like that. So I'll be interested to see what they come out with next. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.